you wrote a book on My Life with the Saints, which has been a very popular book, which is sold, I think, well over 100,000 copies now. Um,
Much more.
how much more? How much more?
Like a billion, I think.
A billion? Wow, that's great. Um, the Jesuits are becoming very wealthy on your back.
Yeah, yeah, not me, but them.
Yeah,
Sad to
um,
say.
but in your experience with the Saints, I think there's often the visions. In fact, in the background of your office there, you have many pictures of angels and saints, etc., and they're very rarely laughing, if ever, right?
Never.
And you say in the book that you found that there was a far more of a humorous slide side to these people than you would experience. Can you
Oh
talk a bit
yeah,
about that?
I mean that's why that's why the cover of my book has pictures of the saints laughing.
And about
Right?
isn't
They're all smiling. They're all smiling, and I was very sort of insistent on that with the publisher, and they were happy to do it. But yeah, I mean, you read the real lives of the saints, and you find people that had great senses of humor. I mean, basically because they were human beings, they had a good sense of perspective, usually better than the people around them.
mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, they would tell jokes on themselves. Saint Philip Neri used to go around Rome with half of his beard shaved off, to get people to laugh at him.
Mm-hmm.
John the 23rd, who was Pope between 1958 and 1963, he was once asked, how many people work in the Vatican, and he said about half of them. That's his famous joke. The other one was someone said, Your Holiness, I understand the Vatican is closed in the afternoon, because it's in Italy, and people don't work. And he said, no, it's closed in the afternoon, people don't work in the morning.
Right.
So, I mean, funny people, and not just those aren't the only examples. The problem is that because we think of Jesus as only the man of sorrows, right? When's the last time you heard him talked about as the man of joys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every church has pictures of Jesus, suffering or a crucifix, and all the saints look morose and dour. I mean, you're really hard pressed to find a picture of a saint smiling. And yet, when you read their life stories, you see these people were very joyful. So, I have a whole chapter in the book on joy in the saints, right? And the saints' senses of humor and how they laughed. And one of my favorite lines is Catherine Drexel, the American saint, who said, "Don't ever say that some great sorrow drove me into the convent. I am and have always been one of the most joyful of women." So, she's happy. And,
John, yeah. And John the 23rd seems to me to be in the book one of your go-to people in terms
yeah,
of humor. Somebody that you sort of is that one of your sort of heroes in terms of
yeah,
piety
he's
and humor?
avatar of holy humor. There's a whole book out called, it was published in 1963 after he died, called "The Wit and Wisdom of John the 23rd."
Right.
And there's a joke where he goes to visit a hospital run by the Sisters of the Holy Spirit, and the sister in charge comes running up to him and says, "Oh, Your Holiness, welcome. I am the superior of the Holy Spirit." And he said, "Really? Well, then you outrank me. I'm only the vicar of Christ." So I mean, as someone who could take a joke and poke fun at himself, and it's constant. It's constant through his life, and there are all these stories about John the 23rd. So how attractive that is to us. I mean, how wonderful it is that a pope has a sense of humor. And so you read the lives of the saints, and there's more stories like that than people normally think.
Okay, real quick, a lightning round for you. Favorite comedian of all time?
Of all time, that's a tough one. I probably should have an answer. I'm trying to think of who makes me laugh the most. I'd probably say, I'd actually have to say Jerry Seinfeld.
Really? Any reason
Yeah,
why?
it's funny.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of who else I've actually paid to see in concert. Frankly, I saw Henny Youngman when I was in college. He killed. He killed at the University of Pennsylvania.
Henny Youngman came to Penn?
Henny Youngman came to Penn and he killed them.
Really?
My wife said I wanted to go somewhere I haven't been for my birthday, and he said, "Try the kitchen." That kind of stuff.
Right. That's hilarious. Like
doctor, the one about the doctor sees a guy, and the guy says, I'm really having trouble with my sex life. He says, "I don't know what's wrong with me." And doctor says, run a mile a day and call me after a week. And the guy says, "Okay, that's fine." And so the doctor gets a call a week later and says to the guy, "How do you feel?" The guy says, "I feel great." And the doctor says, "How's your sex life?" He says, "I don't know. I'm 7 miles away from home." That joke killed.
Have any kind of what you assume to be pious nuns ever reacted in a very interesting or unique way to what might be perceived as bawdy humor? Or people
No, I don't have problems with pious nuns. I have trouble with the pious lay people.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, for
once
bawdy humor, for like bawdy kind of maybe off-color humor.
yeah, I don't do too much bawdy humor. I
Well, I
don't
know
do
you don't, but I mean, yeah.
the joke I told is about as racy as I get. But no, I mean I think nuns have a great sense of humor. They've seen it all. I think people think that people in religious orders and in the priesthood, have no sense of what's going on in life. But I mean, remember priests are in confessionals all the time. Nuns, sort of counseling people all the time. They have a good idea of what's going on. I get people more who are lay people who think that a priest shouldn't be joking around, right?
Mm-hmm.
I told a joke at a mass once in New York, and it got a big laugh. And this guy came up to me afterwards and said, "You know what, Father? I didn't come to a pep rally." I said, "Well, you didn't come to a funeral either." So
Right.
people think that. I mean, there are parts of the mass that need to be serious, of course,
Clearly, yeah.
but
Yeah.
not the whole thing. I mean,
Right.
it is celebration, right? There are times when you can be joyful. Christ is risen,
Yeah.
and that's what I get more. I get more from lay people who think that I should be acting in a particular way, that in a way that they want me to act.